Ryan Callahan joins us right now. Ryan, thanks for being here today. Appreciate you. Just in time to talk about the Vols seniors. Mark, I'll let you start. I want to talk about two of the guys who've been here at least longer. I mean, you had 7 guys who were honored yesterday, including a lot of guys who transferred in this year, but 2 guys who've been here for at least more than 1 year, Jordan Gainey and Jemai Meshack, and their development.
Yeah, well, development is key. I mean, I think they've really grown as players. I mean, Meshack's, he embodies everything that who Coach Barnes is. The selfless defensive player. Yeah, we're living in a moment right now where he had a game winner versus Alabama, but what he did defensively was immense for this ball club over his time here. And then, Gainey has really improved. I mean, you look at the way his motor's improved defensively, and then he's been a guy that's gotten us out a lot of jams this year offensively, being able to put the ball in the basket for us.
And I want to talk, we kind of went long in that last segment with us talking out our issues. Want to focus in on Zakai Zeigler. Ryan, I'll let you start here. I was going to say, the last 25 years in terms of popularity, Chris Lofton, obviously, and Dane Bradshaw was a glue guy who everybody loved. I mean, Grant Williams and Admiral Schofield, popular. I don't want to take you, I'm sure there are other guys I'm forgetting, but in terms of the last quarter century, it's hard to put anybody above Zakai Zeigler when what this fan base has developed with him. The fire that he had, his family home, and the fan base comes together for him. He was a guy who a lot of these fans, same fans who love him now, didn't want. It's like, why are you signing this 3-star nobody? Barnes and these guys spotted him at a tournament and said, who's that guy? Boom. So just the story of Zakai Zeigler, where does he rank in terms of popular Vols?
He's a tough one because, like you said, I think some people, it depends on what's important to you in choosing your favorite players. I think Dalton Connect, for some people, ranks pretty high, even in 1 year, because of how special he was. Grant Williams, I think, high on that list for a lot of people, partly because he's been a success in the NBA, too. I think when you look at a guy like Zeigler, though, he's been there for so long. It just feels like it's been more than 4 or 5 years. So I just think he's high on that list. Is he above Dane Bradshaw or Chris Lofton? I don't think so, but I think he's right in that discussion, and he's special because he's undersized, he's scrappy, he's all the things people love to see in a player that's he's an overachiever and an underdog. Mm-hmm. So I think all those things make him lovable, and it's even easier when you know he's the coach's favorite player, essentially.
Yeah. I think that he has a connection with the fans that I would not say Chris Lofton had or even Dane had while Dane was playing, because Bruce was always the one that was the conduit for the program to the fan base, whereas Rick Barnes let Zakai talk. And Zakai, if you ever spoke to him, was not a guy who was very introverted, shy, I would say downright shy. And he really became a guy that was willing to connect with the fans and have a relationship and have relationships like that within the community and do things like that, even though it required him to get out of his comfort zone to do that. And I think he probably is the most popular over the last 25 years.
There was a lot of compassion directed his way when they had the apartment fire. They started a GoFundMe page. I don't remember what the goal was, but they had raised like $10,000 in the first few minutes. They ended up raising $363,000 for him. Yeah. And he said that his family had never had that kind of support anywhere when they were in New York. And so he made the comment, I'm from New York, but my home is Knoxville. And I think that resonated with a lot of fans, that they reached out with him at that time. The way he plays, how scrappy he is the underdog. He's 5'9", and people have gravitated to him because of that, and the fact that he's been here 4 years. If you listen to the cheers yesterday at Senior Day, the 2 loudest cheers were for the guys that stayed here 4 years. Yeah, and that's why I think it's his legacy is only going to grow, because there's not going to be many 4-year guys in college basketball anymore with the transfer portal. And I do think, I think you hit on the head. Even before Dane and Chris Lofton, there wasn't the social media. You couldn't really go out and be in the community. You couldn't run basketball camps in your community and be paid for it. So, they were kind of in their own bubble on campus.
And Chris Lofton's a very quiet guy anyway. Yeah, whereas Dane's a loudmouth, of course. I can say that. For those that don't remember, Dane was here on this show years ago, before Mark. Yeah. But, it is a different world. In terms of, you saw that, we haven't mentioned it, but Jemai Meshack, in terms of the things you could do differently, started an account to a food drive to get people to give money to help feed people here in East Tennessee.
Second Harvest Food Bank.
He's crazy.
He's done it for a while, and it really went nuts. Yeah,
I think it was aiming for like 7,000. It went over. It's over 40 and closing in on 50, I think. But you haven't had that kind of an opportunity before. But the Zakai Zeigler thing. I don't want to sell somebody short. And Ryan's right. Some people just like, well, he was the best player, so he's most popular. But in terms of a connection with the fan base, I think Zeigler's hard to beat.
I'll tell you why I put him behind Lofton and Bradshaw. And it's a fair discussion.
Because you're a hater, like we
I
are.
am. No. I just think fans tend to, when you think of a player, you go back to moments. And Lofton and Bradshaw had those great moments. Everyone remembers the layup against Florida for Bradshaw and the clutch 3 in the NCAA tournament for Lofton. Zeigler's been part of some great teams, but I don't know if he's had those kinds of moments that are going to stick with fans as much. They make the Final Four this year, that changes, something like that. But I just think that team was so special because it changed the culture of Tennessee basketball. This is going to be in the span of a lot of great teams. It's just going to be 4 years in a long run of some pretty good Tennessee teams.
Well, and I just mentioned Barnes has won 4 straight years of 25 games. That's Zakai Zeigler.
Yep.
That's right.
So in terms of the all-time wins list for guys who were here for 4 years, he's got to be up there, clearly.
I have a neighbor, I don't know that she's a big fan of basketball, but she asked me, when are they going to retire Zakai Zeigler's number, because I love him.
Yeah.
So he's connected with a lot of fans like that.
And that's Chris Lofton's number, by the way.
And he knows it.
Well, I started to say that they won't anyway because it doesn't match their silly criteria. If you haven't hung Tony White's number yet, then you're not going to hang Zakai Zeigler. So that's one thing we ought to change. Just let them hang numbers and stop the criteria crap. When we come back, let's look at the SEC tournament bracket and talk seeding, shall we? Is the number 1 seed still on the table? Let's discuss. Come on back.